right, then. Welcome to Witch Hat Chats, to another episode of Witch Hat Chats, sponsored by the ever-moving We Rise Temple, the Life and Soul Holistic Center, and Moonlight Potions and Charms. I am your host, Nikki Kirby, and today we're going to have a bunch of things for you. I'm really excited about our guest host that's fixing to come up, but as usual, we got a couple of announcements that we need to make. So the only announcement that we got is Ever Moving We Rise Temple will be performing their Dark Moon Hecate Ride Ritual tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm actually really looking forward to it. You know, Hecate is going to be our topic for today. And she is one of the most greatest goddesses to be able to kind of work with, because she deals with life, death, transformation, and manifestation, and so much more. So make sure that you go to the Ever Moving We Rise Temple's Facebook page for more information on that. And everybody is pretty much welcome to join us as we celebrate the Dark Moon and Hecate's ride. So come on down for that. So now I'm going to introduce our guest host. She possesses a doctorate degree in social psychology. Our guest host, she has the keys of magic, medicine, and mystery of Hecate. Her teachings and writings assist people in healing and finding their personal power. You know, I really do love it when people help other people to find their own personal powers. Very, very important. She is the author of several books, including 2 Hecate books. One is Keeping Her Keys, an introduction to Hecate's modern and witchcraft, and also Entering Hecate's Garden, the magic, medicine, and mystery of plant spirit witchcraft. So I am proud to introduce Dr. Cyndi Brannen. Hey, Cyndi. Cyndi.
Hi. Like to make a grand entrance, right? Thank you so much for having me. I love coming together like this with our cool hats on. It's great fun.
It is. I mean, this hat I did for the death goddesses, and of course, Hecate is always one of the ones that when I design my hats, I tend to do that for. So. So how are you today?
I'm doing really well. Just kind of embracing, November. I love November. It's my favorite month of the year. I have a Scorpio rising. So even though my sun sign is Gemini, I really feel that I am a true child of November. I love the dark days, the cold breeze, having to have a fire in the wood stove. I love everything about November. And, and I love that it is very much Hecate's month as we descend into the primal darkness again. For those of us here, of course, in the Northern Hemisphere, we're descending into the primal darkness, back into the cave of the mother. So November is always, if you're like me and you liked the darkness and the dark, the spiritual rebirth and all of that kind of deep inner work, November is so symbolic of that.
It is. I mean, I love November because number one, it's my birthday month.
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you. And there's always been kind of a running joke about Hecate always being in my life because I arrived, my birthday's a day after her ride. So it's like she just brought me in.
Yeah. Dropped you off on her way through.
Here you go, boom. So how long have you been following Hecate?
That's an interesting story. I would say it goes back probably 13 years since I really started to focus on developing a deeper relationship with Hecate. Before that, I've been following the trail of the goddess in all of her many faces, you know, my whole life, whether I knew it or not. Perhaps you can relate.
Oh, yes.
And so when I was younger, you know, when I was going back about, I guess when I was in high school, so going back over 25 years, I fell in love with Artemis. She was my first goddess. I'm fortunate enough that my name Cynthia is an epithet of Artemis and Hecate from antiquity, right? Because Cynthia means of the moon, basically. So fell in love with Artemis, then kind of had a deep relationship with Isis and Persephone, of course. I discovered Persephone when I was in my young 20s, which I think a lot of women do. You know, when we're going through those things of often really difficult times, Persephone will come to us and, you know, and kind of be like, you know, she's been through a few things too. And, you know, she's a great guide as we're figuring out, you know, like these trials and things that we go through. And then only kind of had like a cursory understanding of Hecate. I knew who she was, you know, being like a witch and, you know, having been around for 20 years or so at that point in the goddess world, but never really connected with her. And I had this really kind of profound experience of just hearing her name, hearing and knowing it was her voice one night. And so I think that's about 13 years ago. And well, here we are today, right?
Right. I mean, with Hecate, I've been with her for, God, I don't remember a time that I wasn't really with her, you know, whether I knew it or not.
Right.
That's the thing about her. Sometimes she doesn't even let you know that she is, you know, she's with you, but she's always there. And I really do love that about her. You know, I really want to talk about your book, Keeper of Her Keys, right there. I will be honest with you. I read it and I actually liked it, but you know, it's because I've worked so much with Hecate. A lot of it was already stuff that I've already know. But you know what? A lot of people don't know that, and so I really liked your way about it. And the thing about your book is, and I'm not sure if you know this or not, but I belong to several different Hecate groups in Facebook. And one of them, they got into a fight so much over this book that they actually banned it. And I was like, oh my God, you banned it. And to me, I think it's so funny because of the fact Hecate is nothing but life, death, and transformation and transition. So none of us is going to agree on every single aspect, you know? So what do you think about that?
Oh, what do I think about that? I think fundamentally, you know, and I bumped into this, I don't belong to any Facebook groups, but fundamentally, what I feel is that sometimes people like don't pause for a moment to find out who I am, that I am a psychologist who writes about the goddess Hecate and witchcraft as a means of healing. So I'm not coming at this from a dogmatic perspective, a Wiccan perspective, even a pagan perspective. Right. I'm coming at this as someone who is a psychologist and has a deep understanding of Hecate and my mission is to use, you know, what we know from antiquity about Hecate and what others like you are experiencing today about Hecate, to use that in a way that is healing and bringing us into our wholeness. And I think, because I get into this, you know, people will criticize me and I'm like, you don't really understand. I think we're just coming at this from two different places. I'm a psychologist who uses these myths and uses the archetype of the witch to help inspire mainly women, you know, to heal from trauma and to stand in their own power. So I'm not doing this as someone who is you know, like a Hellenist or a pagan. I'm doing this from through a psycho-spiritual lens.
Right.
But I know people get in great fights about the book, which I love. I personally love it because you know, like if you stir someone to that level of passion, right, that I've touched something in them.
Right.
Right. I've touched, you know, like And that something within them, whenever someone has such a strong reaction, again, as a psychologist, I'm like, it's a projection. You are projecting something in yourself onto my book. It's not about me. It's about them. And, you know, and so it's not, my book is my book. I love my book. It's helped thousands of people.
Yep.
You know, it's been on the bestseller list since it came out a year and a half ago. I'm doing okay. And so, you know, everybody can be who they are, but, you know, like I think people just kind of fail to recognize how I'm writing about Hecate and witchcraft.
Right. Right. See, the great thing about this book is that most Hecate books, they go and they try to find out about her origins and stuff like that, which, you know, is really surrounded a bunch of mystery and everything.
Yeah.
And that's what they mainly focus on. But this is about how you can take Hecate and her teachings and everything and be able to go deep inside to your spiritual foundation, to
Yes.
your core, and to be able to take that and make sure that it's solid, because as you understand, that is what's going to get you through all your traumas. That's what's going to get you through everything, all your obstacles that you're going through in life is your spiritual foundation. And if it's not solid, then there's a problem, because
Right.
you're going to have a problem with that. And the way that you write this, I was like, oh my God, this is so similar to my teachings, you know, because I also have teachings in psychology. I've got a psychology major, and I almost had a master's degree, but I decided at the last minute it was too boring. It was too predictable for me.
Yeah.
You know? And I ended up having to change my degree, which was fine. You know, I don't I really admire people who actually try to help people, because I used to do that. I used to be a mental health worker, and I would help people who have severely mentally ill illnesses. So I get that. And that was one reason why I really, truly loved it, because of all the ways that you were coming through with it. It's just like, let me see if I can find the portion here that I wanted to, okay, let's see. There was one here, you were talking about Hecate, and you were talking about her three selves, the lower self, the higher self, and the middle self. And I thought, well, hey, that's, you know, kind of similar. Could you explain that to our audience?
I would love to talk more about that. So along the way, you know, like I've had a lot of different trainings in different areas. So as I kind of expanded, you know, I'm very curious, as many witches are. We're very curious. We can't get enough knowledge, right? And, you know, I took shamanic training, and I have a close relationship with the Mi'kmaq, the First Nations people where I live. And one of their teachings is, you know, these three selves, the lower self, the middle self, and the higher self. And when I was developing my own understanding of Hecate and studying her history and so on, I thought, you know, her dominion over the three worlds, which does come from Hesiod's theogony, that she, you know, so there, I know some people really like to have a historical basis. So we have a historical basis where some white guy 2,500 years ago said the same damn thing. So, oh, well, it must be legitimate if some long dead white guy said it.
That's so true.
Right? It's like you and I could say it, you know, to Hecate opened up the earth and emerged herself. And unless some dead rich white guy said it, well, it's our, you know, right? Some guy that lived 2,800 years ago, well, he must have been right. So he, you know, but he had written this beautiful, and I'm sure you're familiar with it, this beautiful passage in the Theogony describing Hecate as having dominions over the three worlds, land, sea, and sky. And then, of course, if you look at her history, you see that she, you know, she has a very strong chthonic underworld aspect. And then as a Nodia, she has a middle world aspect. And then Astrodia and Clydocus and lots of the, things like the Chaldean oracles talk about her in a very upper world way. And I thought, well, this really maps onto the three primary centers in ourselves, that we are the root, the lower self, the intuitive, the emotions, our instincts, those things that live in our root. Right. And, we're of the heart, the middle self, that interface between our inner world and the outer world, and that very flowy realm of action, right? Right. And then we're very much also the higher self, where, we're intellect and thought and of the mind. The witch's mind is so powerful. So to me, I thought this is a good way, again, from a psychological perspective, to talk about how the three worlds are represented in us. Mm-hmm. Because one of the things, again, getting back to these long dead white guys.
I think you love those long dead white guys.
I love talking about them.
I think there's one like right behind you too, the little skull there. There's one long dead white guy.
That I've lost my train of thought. Sorry, laughing about that. But I was talking about the three cells and the three worlds and the whole thing. And how we get into this whole journey of wholeness, which is what the myths were about. And I think a lot of times people want to take a literal interpretation of the myths. But even like when Euripides and Socrates didn't write plays, but they were writing plays, they were writing stories. Mm-hmm. And they were trying to bring their inner world, their experiences into like a way that could be shared. And so it's going to be symbolic. And I thought the three cells is very symbolic. And it's a really good way for me as a teacher to talk about that the goddess is within us. She's not, as those long dead white guys and even some white guys today like to say, the goddess isn't living like, I don't know, over there somewhere behind Jupiter. The goddess, we are the goddess embodied, right?
That's right.
And so I thought this is a good way for people to see that we are land, sea, and sky. We are lower, middle, and upper world. We are these things. And so I think that is, I think that's really key for us because we have so much programming to overcome. Like once we can start to see that there is no separation between us and the deeper world, whether, you experience it as Hecate, a different goddess, however you experience the deeper world, right?
The thing about it is I tell my clients and I tell my students that you are the divine. Mm-hmm. So you need to be able to recognize that. Now, a lot of people think, well, no, the divine is out here. No, it's inside. Mm-hmm. Because we are made of them. So we need to honor ourselves. And I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people didn't like our book. It's because they're the ones that think that deity has to be out there and it can't be in here. And I'm like, no. I mean, it doesn't matter what religion that you're part of or what spirituality you're part of. Every one of them says you are made from God, goddess, deity, whatever it is, right, itself, that you are in their image in some form or shape. So I'm like, well, why you don't think that you're not deity? Really? Where do you think your magic comes from? I mean, duh.
Some long dead white guy.
The long dead white guy didn't say it. But when you were talking about the three realms here on page 34, it says the primary focus of the underworld is emotions. The key role of the upper world is intellect, and the middle world is a land of action. And I really like the way that you stated that, especially about the middle world, because I've been telling people that words, they do mean things, they can, but they're not really any good unless they are backed up with action. We have to take action. We can't just say, well, okay, I think I'm going to go and I'm going to attain this goal, I'm going to get $25. Okay, well, I'm sorry, but if you light a candle and you say, okay, universe, I want $25, and you don't do anything to go get that $25 or to earn that $25, then the universe ain't going to drop that $25 on your lap. I wish it was. That would be awesome if that actually was. But if you say, okay, for the $25, can you open opportunities for me to be able to go and earn it? How can I grow to be able to earn, what? And it can be more than $25, but as an example. And that's something that you really do push in here, is to be able to make these goals, take these steps, allow Hecate to guide you in obtaining what you want in life. Mm-hmm. And I run into people all the time that says, well, I believe in magic, but my magic don't work. And I'm like, what? If you don't believe in yourself, of course your magic isn't going to work. I mean, duh. And you're really pushing the fact that the person who is following this needs to believe in themselves. Unlike a lot of other books that I read, which they're all, good books, they all have their merits, okay? Like I said before, we're not all going to agree on every single thing of Hecate. If we did, we'd be very, very boring, and she wouldn't be the goddess of transformation, okay? Just to put that into perspective. But the one thing I really like is because you give these people power. You help them to find their own power. And a lot of people are very intimidated by that. Especially when it comes to women, because as you realize, we're women, we're taught to, number one, we're supposed to think about everybody else and not think about ourselves. We put everybody else first. Mm-hmm. And I tell people, I said, well, you know what? If you don't take care of yourself, nobody's going to take care of you. And how can you take care of somebody else if you don't take care of yourself?
That is so huge. And I think you hit on so many key points there. So I'll just try to amplify a few of them. The last thing you said, of course, is the whole thing with women standing in their own power. I mean, we see that everywhere, right, in society. Right. And when we do stand in our own power, that we're seen as a bitch, we're seen as this, or people ban your book in the Facebook group. And, and it's like, if you are threatened or intimidated by someone standing in their own power in a way that is living those principles I write about with kindness, passion, and integrity, right? We're not about power over, we're not trying to control other people, right? It's about, we're becoming empowered, and it's power with, right? Power with others, which I think that is, something that is very Hecatean, and it gets to the whole thing of helping women find their power, or anyone who feels that they've been marginalized by the Christian patriarchy. Mm-hmm. It's not just for women. Obviously, most of my readers and most of my students are women, but it's for anybody who feels that, that they don't belong in the Christian patriarchy, and the Christian patriarchy has done everything they can to kind of keep them down. And I think this can be really intimidating, like you said, about people who are like, well, my magic doesn't work, or, I just want, I want like a vending machine goddess, except I don't even actually have to put in any money. Like, I just have to look at the vending machine, and the vending machine sticks out exactly, pops out exactly what I want.
I love that. I love that term.
And it's like, it doesn't, like, that is, I would argue that's because so many of us have been so programmed by our Christian upbringing, to think that that's how it works. And that if our prayers aren't answered, for example, then we're doing something wrong. Right. Right. I mean, that gets to the crux of it. because it's all about continuing the cycle of disempowerment and, you know, not giving us any space to be our own wholeness, to be who we are. So I think that the programming, you know, if there's one thing I really try to emphasize is that, you know, it takes a long time to get over this programming.
That's true.
It'll show up and bite you right on the bottom in ways that will shock you some days.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that we have been so, you know, to think our magic doesn't work, to think we're not the you know, that we're not the chief executive witch of our own life.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And Hecate, as you know, she will challenge you and, you know, pull you and draw you deeper into yourself. You know, she'll draw, her cave is within you. And I think that's what, I think there is a real fear of the dark, right? A real phobos.
Yep.
We fear that aspect because we've been so, like, we've been enchanted by artificial light, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You know, because it's not the true light, right? It's not Helios, you know, it's this artificial light that things have to be, you know, a certain way. And then we get into what they call toxic positivity and so on, right? Like, so, you know, Hecate is about the return to the darkness because the natural order of the universe is dark and light, and wholeness requires both.
Yeah.
And I think that scares the crap out of some people. They want, right? They want to keep Hecate over there, almost like she's a horror movie that you can turn on and off. Instead of saying, like, you know what? She's inside of me, and that darkness is inside of me as well.
Right. And see, we're not taught how to deal with our emotions.
Right.
We're taught to take our emotions and suppress them, and then people wonder why. For some reason, it could be some little teeny tiny thing, and somebody just suddenly goes off.
Right.
They haven't dealt with that unresolved anger, you know, that unresolved sadness. That's where depression, you know, comes from. It's from stuff like that. And the thing about Hecate is when people ask me about her, I said, number one, she will tell you the way it is, whether you like it or not. It doesn't matter. You know, she's not going to turn around and take your hand and just rub your hand as she's telling you, you know, you're not exactly the nicest of people, and this is what you need to do. She ain't going to do that. She's just going to tell you flat out, you know, whatever. And she's also the woman who will, not only will she open doors for you, but she will close them, lock them, and throw you through them if you need to be thrown through.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that you need, because I tell my clients and I tell my students, I said, get comfortable being uncomfortable.
That's right.
Because you're constantly having to grow. A lot of people believe that after they graduate high school that they don't have to learn anymore. And I'm like, whoa. We're always supposed to be growing and changing and evolving and becoming better people. And the great thing about Hecate is that she literally pushes you to do that. Whether you want it or not, she will push you to do that. And with women in power, they're very afraid of that.
I think that's what it is. It's like we're intimidated by our own power.
Because we're taught to be afraid of it.
Yeah. And it takes a lot. I mean, I'm sure you know this from your clients and your students. It takes a long time to untangle, to break free of those chains that have bound you into believing that. And, you know, it is great. Like that's the healing work, is for, you know, witches such as yourself to help others to be in that place where they have that experience of the breaking free of the chains, because the world is going to be the world.
Right.
It's how we govern ourselves. And that's where you know, once you start to see yourself as the creator of your own world, and as, you know, a child of Hecate, if you will, then it shifts the perspective. And so you move from feeling as though everyone else has power over you to seeing the world being the world is going to be the world, So you start to navigate it from a position of power and sovereignty, as opposed to, feeling like the world is just out to get you, which it really usually isn't. It's just being the world.
Right. It's the mind shift.
Yeah.
You don't have.
100%.
Yeah, she gives you the keys to do the mind shift. It's like I tell people, don't have the victim mind shift.
Yeah.
It's not all about you, because a lot of times when people come up, like, for example, I know what it's like to have challenges. I have people come up all the time and turn around and tell me that I'm not doing this right, or I'm not doing that right, or I need to stop doing this. It's about them. It's their conditioned selves that are actually coming out, because they're scared that you are evolving and that you're going to be outgrowing them. And that's okay, because people are not meant to stay in your life all the time.
Right.
When they go, they serve their purpose. And when you start working with Hecate, you really begin to understand that. It's just like a lot of people don't understand death. Death, we are constantly engaging death all the time. I mean, for example, you take time. If death is constantly, it's nothing more than a change, is what death is, as you well know. And with time, if we did not have death, guess what? We would stay in the same moment all the time throughout the rest of, whatever history it's going to be. We'll be frozen in that spot. And we're not meant to do that. So a death of a day, a death of a job, a death of a person, yeah, you may not like that, because naturally, us humans are taught, I think it's like we're taught, and we're also kind of instinctively want to keep things, the way that they are. But we have to be able to release that. And Hecate actually teaches you that. And your book was like, oh my God, this is stuff that Hecate's taught me.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, we actually agree on some things. We agree on a good bit of it. And one thing I really wanted you to talk about was that you said that Hecate is the world's soul. So what did you mean by that?
So this actually has a really strong historical basis. So maybe we just can spend a couple of minutes just on the briefest, kind of most reductionist just version of Hecate's history. So what we have now, we have, with Hecate, we have a lot of historical sources. So we have like the myths, and then we have like the myths portrayed in different plays and so on, like, the Medea play and so on, that come to us from ancient history. We have magical texts, such as the Greek magical papyri, that also talk a lot about Hecate. And then we also have the Chaldean oracles, which is a collection of fragments that are philosophical. They're what we would call Neoplatonic philosophical. So they talk about basically the spiritual structure and function of the universe. So in this, Hecate is described as anima mundi, soul of the world. And what these philosophers are writing about is the sacred feminine, right? That the sacred feminine, and it has many different names, but that the sacred feminine is the very soul of the world that fuels creativity, but also destruction. So there is there is a historical basis for the idea of Hecate as anima mundi. And for someone who identifies with the archetype of the witch and practices witchcraft as a healing art and science, then what we're working with is the soul. We work with anima mundi, like whether it's a spell where we're using an infusion of different botanicals to cure a virus, or if we're, some people like crystals, right? So crystals, all of these things as witches that we interact with to do our workings, they're all fueled with the soul of the world, the spark that is the mystery that gives everything life. We have it within us, right? It's that thing that connects us to the natural world and also the unseen world. So, to me, it is just a natural way of seeing Hecate that has a really solid historical basis as anima mundi. So when I was doing years ago when I was studying the oracles, I really just felt, I was like, oh, so they're saying in a philosophical way what witches experience in a very practical, tangible way.
Right.
Right. That she is the thing underneath all the things.
Right.
And in all things.
She's kind of like those little Russian dolls.
Yes.
When inside.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. When you were saying that she's the world's soul, I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Because we can be talking so much about her, because when it comes to transformation, it's something that she can help you as far as it being like, number one, whenever there's transformation, okay, it's never planned. You understand that. It's not like we can call transformation up. Okay, I want to make an appointment with you on Monday, blah, 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 at this time, at this hour. If we could do that, that would be amazing. That would be awesome. But we would also have to be rescheduling it a lot. That's what we'll end up doing, because we want to kind of push that off. Transformation is messy, it's chaotic, and it never goes the way you want to. And once you understand that, it's easier to get through it. But you have to understand your own power, and you have to understand your own self. And with Hecate, you were talking about how her strophalos can be able to help you with that. Can you explain to our audience a little bit more about that?
Oh, her strophalos. So I want to say one thing about, you said about making this appointment about transformation. I love that. I forget who said this, but I say it quite often. When it comes to transformation and making the choice, to go through it, it's that all of us have an appointment with ourselves. Not many of us show up.
It's true.
Right. And if you are connected to Hecate, we could just replace ourselves with Hecate. We have an appointment with Hecate, and not many of us show up.
But she comes after us.
She comes after us and says, excuse me. In terms of the strophalos is really fascinating to me. So the strophalos, if people aren't familiar with it, I'm wearing one. So the strophalos is a circular.
Yeah, I got mine right there.
Right, it's a circular labyrinth. There's a long, fascinating history about it. It's sometimes called the yinks or the inks or the jinx. Curiously, it's associated with this wryneck bird that has a spinning head. And there's this great academic book by Sue Johnson, called Hecate Sotiera. And it's one of those heavy academic books, it's not a pleasant book to read. But she wrote it as her doctoral dissertation. And, she talks a lot about the strophalos in there. And she has a lot of, she's a classicist, so it goes into, it's about the history. And she talks about this whirring wheel. Different ancient writers would refer to Hecate in this whirring wheel. And the strophalos figure with its three kind of coils, if you will, the three coils is so intriguing and so it's mysterious. And it was, such a symbol of, the wheel of time, a symbol of magic and mystery. And one thing I find really interesting is, like all magic, all spiritual work speaks to us in symbols, right? Like that's how the unseen world speaks to us, in symbols and messages. They don't come, like you said, they don't come and give us like neatly written instructions. It's so Hecate shows you the key and then you follow the key. So the wheel as a symbol, it's actually like a three-dimensional structure, right? It's a sphere.
Right.
I don't know if you've ever, people will make these kind of versions of it that are a little bit simpler. And it's a sphere that the inner parts are like an astrolabe, you know, they're moving and spinning and whirring. And to me, there was just such medicine, such symbolic medicine in that. You know, the idea that there is this whirring wheel and we're part of it. And, you know, and it's Hecate's wheel, you know, that she's spinning. And it's fascinating because so many people are so intuitively drawn to the Strophalos. You know, even if you've never done a deep study of the history, or even if you've never sat and analyzed, you know, why you're so intrigued by it. But there's something about it that compels us. Like you know, like on that deeper level, like on the soul level, you know, it's like, I don't know exactly what that thing is, but I know it speaks to me, and I know that's a symbol that's important for me.
And with that, we need to go to our music commercial. Yay.
Yes.
So each week we have our song of the week, and I select a song from a pagan musician or band and display the music video or song. So this week I am proud to introduce a song by a musician who will be, a song by a musician. And it's from the Lotus Eaters album, and the song is entitled Hecate by Wendy Rule. So let me share this, and we will be back in a moment as we are listening to Miss Wendy sing.
All the leaves on the Hecate trees shed to the wind till a skeleton clothes the sky. I am alone in a forest of memories, dragging behind me the howl of the winter. Gone are the leaves on the Hecate trees, shed to the wind till a skeleton clothes the sky. I am alone in a forest of memories, dragging behind me the howl of the winter. Hecate,
are among us, and you know what that means. We travel and give out witchy things. Where can we find witchy items designed to enhance your magical passion? At Moonlight Potions and Charms, our products are designed to help you embrace the power of your own magic. Now available for customization, the Altar on the Go contains everything you need to set up your magical altar, even in the smallest of spaces. Need prosperity in life? Our prosperity voodoo doll kit is just right. Our familiar cats are looking for magical people to take them home. And check out our sections honoring the voodoo queen, Madame Marie Laveau, Santa Muerte, and the ancestors, as well as a candle for virtually every spell. So our divination kits are great for your divination needs. And there is so much more in our Wicked store to help you embrace the power of your own magic. So come on in to Moonlight Potions and Charms at www.moonlightpotionscharms.com and discover the wicked things that ignite the magical passion in you. Have questions about witchcraft, goddess, god, authentic self, or paganism in general? At the ever-moving We Rise Temple, we welcome all those questions and so much more. There is no judgment here, as we realize everyone's path is uniquely personal. We are all about emerging the authentic self as we walk in alignment with spirit. We recognize our temple as a living, breathing organism, and as such, you are welcome to join us as we celebrate the Seventh, Xbox, Goddess God, and our authentic selves in our monthly rituals, events, and classes. Visit us at our website or Facebook page and discover what magically distinguishes us from the crowd. With the solar season comes life, death, and transformation. What is it in your life that you're missing and no longer serves you? Do you feel you were born to do something more? Discover your life's passion and purpose and more at the Laughing Soul Holistic Center, where our classes, coaching sessions, and readings are specially designed to assist and support you with your transition and transformation. Emerge into your authentic self and become the person you were meant to be. Visit us at www.laughingsoul.com and discover how to live a soulful life. All right. And we are back with Miss Cyndi. Yay!
Hey.
Oh, that was so awesome. You know, I am looking for, at one time, Hecate, let's tell you, I'm going to tell you a little story about my Hecate candle. All right, so when I put my Hecate candle up on Facebook originally, Facebook approved it and everything, and it was fine. Oh, crap, excuse me. And, but it was, let's see, about a few weeks ago, I started going over the inventory, and it was telling me that this Hecate candle was too sexy. And because it was too sexy, then it could not be on Facebook. So I'm going to share what my Hecate candle is, and I want your opinion on that.
I can't wait to see it now. Now I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Generally, when anybody gets in trouble with Facebook, I'm very proud of them. Well, that's a lovely candle.
Right. So it's not like it's too sexy or anything. At least I didn't think it was too sexy. Everybody says it's a dog. You know, it's the dog's fault. You know, blaming my poor little Dottie dog right there.
I think that's very charming. Like, I think it's lovely. Someone's reported it on Facebook. Probably one of those same people that want to ban my book. Reported it. I mean, they do this. I mean, I've had lots of bumps with these people reporting different things to me on Facebook. So, it's not.
Yeah. Because it wasn't just that. It turned out they did a couple of my other products from the same thing. But now I just got an email yesterday that's saying that Facebook has approved this again. So, so talking about life, death, and transformation.
Right? So, because with Facebook, how it works is someone has to report it.
Yeah, and at first it was just called the Hecate prayer candle. So now, because Hecate, Facebook declared it to be too sexy, I changed it to the sexy Hecate.
That's right. What's that song? I'm too sexy for this shirt. You remember that song? I'm too sexy for this candle.
I'm too sexy for my cat. Too sexy for my cat. What you think about that?
Oh, that's ridiculous. The things people will get up to on Facebook, right?
Oh, I sit there. I was like, oh my God, really? The girl off of Bewitched, that cartoon character was a lot more sexier than that.
And it's interesting because when it comes to like, that's a beautiful image. It's not obviously explicitly sexy, and talk about like people with their psychological projections, right? Because they're overly in the root chakra, you might say, or, in that zone of hypersexuality and not being a master of their own domain, so to speak, that they're going to be like projecting it and getting offended by things and seeing things that aren't there because they're complex, they're too much, and they're either they don't have a healthy relationship with their own sexuality. How about we say that? Or we can theorize that they don't have a healthy relationship with their own sexuality. Who really knows, right? But it's a fun theory to develop about your candle, which is lovely.
Yeah, because I was sitting there thinking, well, it's not like I made the brush, like 3 times the size of what it's supposed to be or anything. Because when I do goddess candles now, I do them in black saloons like that because I want you to project your own image.
Yeah.
Because your image of Hecate is not going to be the same thing as my image of Hecate, and that's okay. A lot of people, they'll sit there, they'll fight over it. Well, we all got to agree on no. When it comes to Hecate, especially, you don't have to agree on anything. I mean, you can turn around and think she's a communist, and I can think she's an American citizen, and it's okay. We can have those two left point of views. But I just thought that was really interesting when I came across that one Sunday. I'm like, really? That's too sexy? And you know what? 2 days later, I saw on Facebook where there was this male deer, who was having sex with a female deer, and then the female deer's head just dropped off. And I'm like, and they said that my Hecate candle was too sexy.
Curious.
Oh, but let's talk about our symbols again, like the key. The key is something that represents of opening doors. And the great thing about in your book, you pointed out that the key has actually gone beyond the physical, such as passwords are considered keys.
Yeah, we have so many different keys that we use, right? Like, so passwords on our phones and computer sometimes some of us, like I used to at work at the hospital, I had one of those little things I had to wear around my neck, to get into all the different places I had to go. So, there's so many different ways we experience keys in the 21st century that may not be apparent until we start thinking about what the object, what the activity is really accomplishing in terms of like opening and closing doors. So I love the key symbolism, and her role as Kleidoku's, keeper of the keys, really related to her as Anima Mundi. The keeper of the keys of the universe is the whole expression for that ancient role of hers. And, that gets back to the whole idea that she has those, that she has our personal keys that we're just kind of waiting for us to go and claim, but also that, she holds the keys to like all there is. So it's really beautiful. And one of my favorite things is I love stories. I love collecting stories. So, you know, everyone who tells me their stories of how they found, you know, unexpected keys, you know, those synchronicities, how Hecate really often speaks to us. We'll find like, how did that key get there? You know, like, where did that come from? So I love those stories of like, you know, her role of keeping the keys is really, it's alive. You know, it's not something from the long distance past that just someone wrote about. It's, you know, like so many of us have these stories of keys and these synchronicities. And, you know, that's so powerful. You know, that's her medicine coming through to us into the physical world, which is so amazing. And then we have our dreams, because of course, Hecate is very much a goddess of dreams. And, you know, we have dreams, and in our dreams we'll be opening gates, or, you know, like trying to get a gate open. Like, how many of us have had those dreams, right? We're, you know, like we're in some location and it's like a maze or a puzzle, like her wheel, you know, and we're just going through all these places trying to get to this place where we need to get through this door. And that's Hecate coming to us in the dream world, right? And, you know, and showing us the way in a manner that we can understand.
Yeah.
And it's her invitation, it's her key. I've given you these things. Now here, figure out what they mean.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And the thing about the key is, it's not always to open doors. It's to lock doors at times.
Yeah.
You know, and close them. And the thing about it is, she helps you figure that out. You have to be patient, and you have to listen to her. You know, just taking the key and say, okay, what do I do with this? She's going to sit there and look at you and says, you need to figure that out for yourself.
Yeah.
That's another thing I love about her. She doesn't spoon feed you. You know, a lot of people these days, they want to be spoon fed. And I really, really, that gets on my nerves, because I mean, you know, back in my day, you know, early on, when I first came across paganism, doesn't matter what person it was, we had I think the only book that we had in our library, which I live in a small town in North Carolina, was the big book of astrology. And that was put behind the librarian's desk, and it was in reference, and you couldn't check it out. And if you asked for it, they look at you like, really? No, you don't want that. That's a demon thing. You know, that's a devil thing. And you know what? That's still the only book that we have, and that was like over 20 something years ago. But you know, the thing about her is, I like it because she helps you to explore that. She gives you other signs. It's not just the key. She may give you the key and one thing, and then she may send one of her animals. Like, let's talk about the dog. The dog is absolutely wonderful. I say I have all my hellhounds. I mean, I have 5 of them. So, so when you hear them barking, I'm like, oh, they're barking for Hecate. There you go.
Isn't that is such a real phenomenon, though, that if you're doing a ritual or a meditation and you're really experiencing the presence of Hecate, like dogs get excited. Like there is such a, whatever you want to call it, there's such a strong connection between her, well, and all animals really, you know, but particularly dogs will just, I've had so many reports of people doing rituals or meditations, and all of a sudden, for no good reason, the dogs just start to get really excited. I find that so, again, that's like her presence coming into the physical world. You know, if you're looking for a sign, this is it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, all of my dogs are rescue dogs. Every one of them. So Hecate has sent them to me for one reason or another. And the thing about it is, she is the queen of witchcraft. And most of the time when you hear about witchcraft and you hear about animals, it's always the cat. Everybody has to have a cat. If you're a witch, you have to have a cat. But with Hecate, she's saying, you don't only have to have a cat, you can have a dog. Because dogs mean loyalty, they mean protection, they teach you how to sniff out the truth.
Yeah.
You know, they teach you how to have fun. You know, and that's something that I think that a lot of people don't understand about Hecate. She doesn't want you to be serious, you know, all the time. She wants you to be able to have fun, enjoy life.
And she has a sense of humor, you know, like there's so many stories, and you've probably had experiences and heard stories too, where like she has this kind of very dry sense of humor when you have experiences of her, right? That she's not she's not going to be doing a stand-up routine or anything anytime soon, but she does have a very dry sense of humor. And I love how you said that about the dogs are a reminder that we can have fun, that we can be serious and protective and fierce, and also have fun. I mean, it's such a beautiful sight when like there's a big dog, like a Rottweiler. I used to have bull mastiffs, and you know, like when they're being goofy, right? So I love how you said that, because that's so true. I do have an interesting little story about Hecate and cats from history, because this is something I found only recently, because a student said to me, well, Hecate is associated with cats historically. And I'm like, it's entirely possible. I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
So I went and I looked at what the website that said this, and I was like, oh, they've mixed up the myth. So there's there's this great myth about the witch Gale, Gale, and all of her troubles, because you know, witches then as now, we tend not to do well within the power structure and so on, right? Yeah. And so she gets herself in trouble and ends up being turned into a polecat. A polecat is a weasel. It's not a cat. It's a European weasel or ferret, right? So this website had just dropped the fact, didn't understand that polecat actually had nothing to do with house cats or any cats, that it was a type of weasel from Europe. So there is a little bit of confusion, I think, floating around in the internet about this story. Gale, of course, was one of Hecate's witches in the mythology. So it was a ferret, not a cat, that Gale got turned into. And
kind of like what they did in Harry Potter when they turned, who was it, Draco into a ferret at that time in one of the movies. You know, too bad we can't do that. That would be nice. Just snap our fingers.
Right.
You know, if you figure that out with Hecate, let me know.
I think I'd probably keep it to myself.
Put in your next bestseller. There you go.
Right, exactly. You know, I always say I keep secret about what I keep secret.
Well, come on. You're a child of Hecate. Children of Hecate, we keep secrets. We're there, the mysteries. That's part of what we are.
Right. It's supposed to be a mystery that we're engaged in.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you this. Do you, and there's been conflict about this as well, do you believe that Samhain and the month of November is, and I quote, a recent modern Hecate type of witchcraft, or do you think it's actually older than that?
Well, here we go with this, you know, these arguments that people like to fritter away about. Like, this is not my concern, but let's talk about it. So in the sense of Hecate, if we are talking about history and not experiences, then of course it's 100% modern. There is no known, and let's talk about known. We don't have a complete historical record, right? What we have, there is no threads that you can say Samhain has any kind of overt, explicit, clear historical association with Hecate or the month of November based on existing historical records. I don't believe that we should put precedence on what people have written down previously as dogma. To me, that is Christianity repackaged, and I will have none of it.
Oh, so that's the white guy. That's the old
It's the white guys again, right? So it's white guys repackaging Christianity and selling it as paganism. I'm not buying what you're selling. So, you know, like if we were to take that lens, then of course, and I mean, I know I can see that you look for the deeper spiritual meaning. The deeper spiritual meaning of Samhain is very connected to Hecate, very Hecatean. Death, transformation, connection with spirits, and so on. So if we are only looking at the most surface level of things, then you could say no. But I'm completely disinterested in the surface level of anything. You're a Scorpio, I'm a Scorpio rising. The surface of anything is not our concern, right?
Right.
Right, it's a deeper meaning. And the deeper meaning of Samhain is very similar to the aspects of Hecate that are about the dead, the psychopath, Bobora Forbra, the filth eater, and so on. So we can kind of piece together historical fragments and weave anew, which is what people have always done, right?
Right.
I mean, this idea there's any kind of pure thing is again, you know, it's just, again, it's repackaged Christianity trying to call itself paganism.
Yeah, you know, when people tell me, well, I am still doing the sacred witchcraft from Salem, I look at them, I'm like, you're full of crap.
You do you.
You know, the thing about it is, over time, things are going to change because they have to adjust to the modern times. And we are not back in the Middle Ages, people, okay? You know, I'm sorry, but we're not. Actually, I'm not sorry.
Scratch me either. Not sorry at all. I like being alive and not being burned.
And I like having the freedoms that we have now.
Right.
Women didn't have that. I mean, back during the Greek, you know, Roman days, women didn't have that many freedoms. We were properties a lot of times. So that's one reason why I like this time. But you know what? Hecate is a goddess that helps you to adapt to a situation. And if you can transform it, she helps you to do that. But she also helps you to accept what you cannot transform.
Right. And the other thing is, like, if you know, if you wanted to say, like, you know, I draw a lot from what we know about, like, Hecate's ancient witches and priestesses.
Mm-hmm.
And what they were doing was using what they had.
That's true.
I don't have a goat out in the yard that I can slaughter.
You mean you don't keep one on hand?
Just in case? Not anymore. That was then. But, you know, and so, you know, like, it again, if we scratch beneath the surface and see what they were doing spiritually and symbolically, you know, as opposed to just being like, well, we have to use these ingredients from, you know, the 1600s, which is fun to do in a recreation way, right? Like, it's fun to do it. But it's like, that's not the only way. And you know, you hit on a really important point about wine. And one thing that's very, what I find really fascinating, I really connect with on a deep level, is the ancient Sibyls, you know, the witch priestesses of Hecate, who were held in reverence and, you know, within the community before Christianity got a hold of them. And, you know, that they were the only women who could own property, right? They had an esteemed position, you know, Pythia, the Sibyl of Cumae, and so on. They had these esteemed positions within society, which is, I think, a really important thing for us to understand, that there is a historical, and this is not just mythic, there's also, you know, historical Sibyls that for us to connect with in terms of our ancestors, especially at this time of the year. That there is a long lineage that of ancestors, spiritual ancestors.
Yeah. And with that, the last question I have for you is, where can my audience find you?
So your audience can find me on keepingherkeys.com. You can learn all about my work, the courses I teach, learn how to join my coven, which is a completely private coven on the Mighty Networks app. So it's completely private. They can listen to the Keeping Her Keys podcast on all major platforms, and come and hang out with Keeping Her Keys on YouTube. I do have a Facebook page and an Instagram page as well. So you can just type in Keeping Her Keys, and you'll find all kinds of places to connect with me.
Awesome. Well, Cyndi, thank you so much for coming up and talking about Hecate. We could go on for like hours and hours just talking about her. And the thing about it is we have just barely scratched the surface with what we've talked about. So thank you so much. You continue to make a difference in your life and in others.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. This has been a delight. Bye, everyone. And hail Hecate.
Hail Hecate. All right. And with that, we are going to go to the witch's cabinet. So let's see what's going to be on the witch's cabinet today. So for today's witch's cabinet, we're going to make a talisman. And there is several differences between the amulets, talismans, and lucky charms. Amulets are created for protection. Lucky charms are created for luck. Talismans are used to attract specific benefits or benefit to the owner. So make sure you know what your intentions are before you make the product. These objects you want to keep with you at all times. One of Hecate's powerful symbols is the key, and keys are symbols of power as they represent beginnings, endings, liftings of objects, freedom, revealing secrets, knowledge, authority, luck, and success. They represent unlimited possibilities and potential, and keys are everywhere. They cross all religions and spiritual beliefs, and they evolve into entities that are beyond the physical, into the spiritual, mental, emotional, and even into the computer world. For example, passwords are considered keys. And although keys come into a variety of forms, the most common used key that is associated with Hecate is the skeleton key, or it can open and lock any door that is presented before you. Hecate uses this key to unlock your mind as you discover your authentic self. But the Hecate's wheel symbol, also known as the strophalos, dates back to 2300 BC and consists of 3 circles. It means whirling wheel. Strophalos means to turn or spin, and it is not a labyrinth. The strophalos is a connection to ancient knowledge and symbolic of the soul's journey through life that is represented by the serpent maze with the fiery spinning wheel at the center, surrounded by a circle border. It contains 3 spokes representing Hecate's threefold path. The symbol is used for manifestation, birth, and rebirth. So I'm going to show you how to do a simple talisman to Hecate. So what you're going to need is your Hecate candle, your oil, your talisman, which will be your key or your strophalos, and you need to make sure you can be able to wear it. And you're also going to need some Florida water or some type of incense to be able to cleanse the talisman with. And of course, you're going to need your handy lighter, right? All right, so basically what you do is, the first thing you do is you first start by cleansing the hair. Switch that done. You want to make sure that's cleansed and that's dry. What I'm doing is I'm just spreading the liquid all over the talisman. Make sure it gets all over. Yeah, because you don't want to sit here and spray a whole lot of it. You don't want it to be goopy and gobbly. And you want to make sure it's spread evenly. So you do that. Okay. Done. Next thing you want to do is you want to get your Hecate oil. Now, if you don't have Hecate oil, then that's fine. You can always go with something else. Hecate, she likes lavender, she likes blackberry, she likes mugwort. She likes a lot of different types of things, or even you can get out some type of dark goddess oil or something like that. So anyway, make sure you shake it up really well and make sure, number one, you're not allergic to it. That is the major thing you want to make sure you're not is allergic to it. And plus, you kind of want it to smell a little sweet. You don't want to smell it stinking all the time. I mean, you're going to be wearing this, so you don't want to do that. Oh, so you want to put just a bit on your finger. And then you want to put it all over this thing. With oil, it doesn't take a whole lot. And you want to make sure you spread it really, really evenly. Because you don't want it to be thick and gooey and all that kind of stuff. And I also put it on the chain as well. You don't have to do this. It's not a requirement. I just do it for personal reasons because this is what's going to be kept on it. All right, that's done. Now I light my Hecate candle. And this candle is also available at Moonlight Potions and Charms. It's the Hecate sexy candle. And the little dog's kind of cute. So anyway, I'm lighting that. Now I'm getting ready, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to be saying a prayer. So it can be any type of prayer to Hecate. Make sure that you are very clear in your intention and your dedication and the purpose of what you want, which is part of your intention. But you want to make sure to let Hecate know this represents her. That's what you want to know. And it also represents whatever you want in there. So me today, I would like to not only have her protection, but I would like to have her knowledge and her guidance for my path and anything else that she can be able to help me with. So you want to kind of clear your mind and say some prayer like, Goddess Hecate, Queen of Witchcraft, Goddess of Life, Death, Transformation, and Transition. I dedicate this key as well as its struggles to you. Please place your energies into this key for protection. Place your knowledge of understanding, wisdom, and the ability to see through those things that may fog up or cloud up my mind. With this, I hope that you will guide me continuously on my path, that this will be the light to help me. And also the key to be able to open doors, not only within myself, but without as well. Goddess Hecate, I ask that you bless this and you protect us. And the one who is wearing it, which will be me. This is my dedication to you. As I will, so let it be. Blessed be. And what I did was afterwards I blew on it, because as you're sitting here and you're doing the blessing, you want to make sure that you're having Hecate's power, you're embracing her power, her energy, her love, everything that this goddess is. And as you're placing that in there, as you're breathing onto it, what you're as you're breathing her energies into this, you're making sure that as you're dedicating this, this is absolutely of her flame, her holy flame that she's putting in this. And with her holy flame is life, death, and transformation. So you want to make sure all of that energy goes into this one little thing. And then afterwards, what you want to do is I'm going to put it on my altar, and I'm going to leave it there for a few days, just to be able to dedicate it especially to her. So that's pretty much how you make a talisman. Now, there's other ways of being able to do that. It can get more complicated. It can get a lot easier. But you know what? I'm the type of person, I'm very quick, I'm very fast, I'm very simple, because I just don't have time to be able to go into one of these long ceremonies. So anyway, that is it for today's Witch's Cabinet. Good luck in all of your talisman. Send us pictures to let us know how your experiences are, and if there's anything else that we can show you. Thank you so much, and you have an absolutely marvelous transformational day. All right. That was awesome. Yeah, that was really, really good. So that's one of the ways of being able to make a talisman for Miss Hecate. And that's going to be all for today's show. So join me next week, as our guest host will be Mama Gia. And make sure you wear a mask and social distance, and keep your fuzzy babies and yourself safe. So you have a good one. So let's see here. Yeah. Let me bring this up. Awesome. All right. You have a good one.